Okay, in this particular question, we've been presented a scenario. There's this person named Tony, and Tony has a cold, and his pharmacist, who he visits, the pharmacist accepts measurements of the medication that Tony needs in cm³, and not dm³. But Tony has his prescription in dm³, and so Tony's left with you could say he's left with the calculation burden of having to convert what the doctor's given him to what the pharmacist will accept. It's not clear if a pharmacist who would only accept measurements in cm³ is the pharmacist where you should rely on to get your medication. However, for the purpose of this exercise, our main focus is on volumetric unit conversion. Now, in this case, Tony was prescribed 0.423 dm³, as it says in the question, and we effectively need to convert this to cm³ in order to give the correct prescription to the pharmacist in the format they will accept. And we've been asked to give our answer to 3 decimal places when necessary. Okay, so what was the volume that Tony calculated in cm³? Because as it says in the question, Tony's quite good. We can presume Tony got the conversion correct. So, well, here we're converting dm³ to cm³. So we're going to first refer to the definition of both. So I have this here where we've got deci, right, which means 1/10, and originating from the Latin word decimus, right? And here we've also got centi, which refers to often, at least commonly, 100th. For the purposes of this question, the main prefix meaning we're relying on for centi is to mean 100th, even though it can sometimes mean 100 in this case. We're relying on the 100th version. Okay, what's our implication? So if we look at this from a three-dimensional perspective, and we're looking at this from a perspective of proportions in relation to a meter, effectively, right? We've got, just gonna draw this 3 dimensions here, right? So this one is going to be in relation to our dm³. This one's going to be in relation to our cm³. Okay, and I'm just drawing this for the purpose of supporting an intuitive grasp of what we need to do here. Now, in this particular case, when we're looking at dm³, we're converting it. This is effectively 1/10, 1/10, and 1/10 in 3 dimensions, right? And in the cm³ context, we're looking at 1/100, 1/100, and 1/100 in 3 dimensions. And we're trying to convert one to the other. Now, if we try to effectively divide this side, right, by this side, what do we get? Well, in the current format as it presents itself, it's quite difficult to do so. So what I'm going to simply do is convert it to 1 over 100, which in this case 1, 2, 3 is effectively to the power of 3, and here 1 over 10 to the power of 3. And so we're gonna divide this by this, okay? So if we do that, and how I'm gonna work this out is effectively, this is effectively synonymous with 1 over 100 multiplied by 1 over 10, right? Now, if you've got 1 over 100 to the power of 3 divided by 1 over 100 multiplied by 1 over 10, we can cancel this to 2, we can cancel this, and we're left with 1 over 100 squared divided by 1 over 10. Right. Now 1 over 100, as we may quite clearly see, 1 over 100 is effectively the same as 1 over 10 multiplied by 1 over 10 multiplied by 1 over 100, right? So if we then divide this by 1 over 10, we very, very clearly see that we can cancel this out, right? And so we're left with 1 over 10 multiplied by 1 over 100, right? And so if you multiply this together, what do we get? We get 1 over 1,000, okay? That's effectively what we get. So what are we saying here? Well, what I'm saying is when we looked at the decimeters, the numbers corresponding to that, when we divide the centimeters cubed by it, what we get at the end is 1 over 1,000. And in this case, the implication is, well, to get from one to the other, the factor involved is 1,000. What arises next is the question of, well, do we divide it? Do we multiply? What we've been asked to do in the question? We've been asked to convert dm³ to cm³. Now, if we're converting centimeters to millimeters, right? So in this case, let's say we've got 100 centimeters and we want to convert it to millimeters. Are we going to get a bigger number or are we going to get a smaller number? Well, clearly, if we're converting centimeters to millimeters, we're going to get a bigger number, right? So in this case, it would become 1,000 millimeters, okay? Now, taking the same principle, when we've got the decimeters cubed, converting it to centimeters cubed, will we end up with a bigger number or a smaller number? Well, clearly what we're going to end up with is a bigger number. Now, if you divide something by 1 over 1,000, right? If you divide something by 1 over 1,000, do you get a bigger number or a smaller number? Well, if you divide something by 1 over 1,000, so let's say we do 1 divided by 1 over 1,000. Yeah, this is drawn in a weird way, but you clearly get a bigger number here, right? Because that's going to be 1,000, right? Therefore, we can infer that in this case, what we need to do is divide what we have in decimeters cubed by 1/1000, which, as we see from this example, and this example makes it very clear, if you're dividing something by 1/1000, in this case we divided 1 by 1/1000, a much simpler way to put this is that you're multiplying by 1000, okay? Multiplying by 1000. So in this case, just to kind of land this point, with this question, what we're trying to do, or what we need to do, is multiply (0.423) dm³. Effectively, we need to multiply the number by 1000. And why I've gone through this process is just so one can effectively glean from it some level of intuition, so they understand why this process happens, which hopefully under, let's say, under higher pressure conditions, you would be able to error check your own work. You'd be able to have a bit of an intuitive sense of if you've made a mistake or not, as to avoid unit conversion errors, which can be quite problematic. In any case, 0.423 multiplied by 1000, we get 423. And is that our answer? Well, we've been asked to give our answer to 3 decimal places when necessary. In this particular case, it's not necessary. Clearly, there's not even any decimals. So all we need to really do at this point is to make sure we assign the units with our answer to give it the proper meaning. So that would be 423 cm³. So effectively, that is our answer, right? So Tony, what he needs to give to the this strange pharmacist who doesn't accept prescriptions in dm³, we need to give him that value, so 423 cm³. Okay.